Yes, guys, we've heard the big news. English football, Premier League football, and, well, European football has been suspended for the time being due to the outbreak of the coronavirus, COVID-19. First and foremost, I just want to have a thought and a prayer for all those families, all those people who have been affected so far by this, and of course there are going to be more people affected in the future, and we pray for all of them. As far as football's concerned, the questions are what happens with the season from here. Listen, there's two sides to every argument. In some cases there might be three sides. We're going to talk about the Premier League, and when we do the podcast later, we're going to go into more about, the other leagues and all the implications for this current suspension. So, as it is at the moment, the Premier League has been suspended until April the 3rd, so about 2 weeks suspension, and that's a minimum. And I guess they'll review at that stage and decide how to progress going forward. And I guess the options from there will be to suspend it for a longer period, or to play behind closed doors. I think most people accept that it's probably going to be more than 2 weeks before Premier League football resumes. So that's what we're going to base, this reasoning. What should happen? What should be, the outcome of the season, or when should the season end? And like I said, I guess there's there's three options, 2 or 3 options. Realistically, that the Premier League are considering. The first one being scrap the season, void the season. It didn't happen. Thanks for coming, and we go again next year. That's an argument that is being considered, and one that a lot of teams and fans agree with. Of course, the main ones that don't agree would be Liverpool, who are 25 or so points clear at the top of the table, just need 6 points to confirm, or of course a win against Man City to confirm themselves as champions. It is pretty much the inevitable, but it hasn't happened yet. Liverpool would be, delighted to win their first title in 30 years, first Premier League title overall. But I guess, they wouldn't win it maybe in the right way. But if you give it to them, they're going to say, well, we deserved it anyway. And I understand the argument. But obviously if it's voided, it's like we put in all this work and then we have to go again next year. And there's no guarantee we're going to actually go and lift it next year. That's come from a Liverpool perspective. So they won't want it voided. Leicester, they wouldn't want it voided either. Because if you void the season, you revert back to last season's positions. And Leicester, who are currently sitting in 3rd, looking very, very good for a Champions League position. And all that hard work will be, thrown out of the window, all for nothing. And it relates to the Premier League, but they're not actually in the Premier League. The 2 teams, or might say 6 teams or so, who's fighting for promotion from the Championship into the Premier League. If the Premier League is voided and they keep, 20 teams for next season, then nobody's going to get promoted. Again, all that hard work you put towards it, the Leeds, West Brom, etc., all the way up there, and nothing to show for it at the end of the season. You have to go again next year, and there's no guarantee. And the Premier League is a massive target for teams in the Championship. A lot to do with the money, the prestige of playing that competition, the players. There's a lot of money or revenue that hasn't been gained, that wouldn't be gained if they don't get that promotion to the Premier League. And personally for me, I said we'll go more in detail in the podcast. Personally for me, voiding the season would be disappointing because, as a Man United fan, I don't want Liverpool to win the title. Don't get it wrong. I don't want Liverpool to win the title. But also as a Man United fan, we're looking good to catch Chelsea for Champions League football next year. And I kind of accepted back in October, really, that Liverpool were going to win the title. So it's about our achievements. Now, if we have to, we're going through a run of form that's got us back into contention, we're further in the Europa League, and now we're gonna have to start again. We're back in the Europa League next year. Certain teams can strengthen. It's gonna make it more difficult to get back into the Champions League next year. I personally don't want to avoid the season, but as a fan, I don't want Liverpool to win the league, innit? But I think that's the wrong view to be happy that a league is voided, because football is about competition. You don't get everything you want. But if you waste all that time, 8 months, 9 months, and then it counts for nothing, it's a bit disappointing as a football fan. The other option is to decide the league as it stands. This is the final positions. And you've played 75 of your games, most of you, some of you just less. You are where you are, and this is how the final table will stand. For me, that's completely incorrect. The Premier League has not been won. It is not complete. Yes, it's 99.9% that Liverpool are going to do it, but it's not done. They haven't done it. And equally, if you give Liverpool the title, you have to confirm the relegation, because the league is complete. The positions are what they are. But then that's unfair on teams who are in the bottom three, like Aston Villa, who are even got a game in hand. And the fact that you play and plan for a 38-game season, you play everyone twice. Some teams have played what you might think is easier opposition, and others who have got them in their remaining fixtures won't get to play them. So what do you do with that? Just because Liverpool are 25 points clear, but it's much tighter at the bottom, you can't just confirm relegation. I spoke about the amount of money that's involved as well. It's unfair for those teams who are fighting for positions to say, well, you didn't get there soon enough. Well, we didn't need to get there soon enough. We need to get there at 38 games, and it's been cut short through no fault of our own. I think that's for me, that's the worst decision. You cannot confirm the league as it stands, because the league hasn't been completed. And another reasoning is to award Liverpool the title, I guess, void the rest of the league, but allow 2 teams to get promoted, as in the top 2 in the Championship. I understand the reason behind it, because Liverpool 1 is nearly done. The rest of them are up for grabs. But equally in the Championship, the 2 teams that are 1 and 2, that might not be who are 1 and 2 if the season was completed. Can you confirm a league, whether it's the Premier League, the Championship, League 1, League 2, that hasn't been completed? That is the bottom line. Can you do that? And I just think that itself is unfair, very, very unfair, especially with the amount that's actually involved in that financially. It's very unfair to say, well, you didn't do it soon enough. It's a tough one. There's people in positions to make that decision. Fans, we're going to have our opinions, and as I said, we're going to go much deeper, talking about European football, the Euros, Champions League, Europa League, etc. And other sports, F1, Olympics, all of those things that are affected by this, and where we move forward in the sporting calendar. But make sure you leave your comments below. Let me know what you should think, what you think should happen when it comes to the Premier League this season. And that's assuming it gets cancelled now, if we say this is it. Because the third, one of the major ones is, well, let's just wait it out and play it at a later date to make sure it gets complete. I don't mind that one. I really don't. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts and everything we discussed, and stay tuned for the podcast that will be out tomorrow morning, recording later today. I'll see you soon.